I'm one of the librarians here at the Newton Free Library, and I'm going to tell you about some of the great books we have on the going into 5th grade reading list. But I also want to point out to you that this list that was put together by the school librarians and the Newton Free Librarians is just for fun. You do not have to read any of the books on the list. We hope you will enjoy some of them, but the whole idea of reading over the summer is to enjoy what you are doing, so feel free to read anything that you want. I also wanted to let you know that you can listen to books over the summer. And from the Newton Library, there are 3 different versions of audiobooks that you can borrow. You can download e-audiobooks onto a device, so just like you would download an e-book and read it, you download an e-audiobook and then listen to it. You can also borrow books on CD. And you can borrow playaways. So these are really nifty little things because you add a battery if there isn't one and your earbuds, and that's it, you're good to go. You don't need any device because this is the device with the book already built in. So that is a really great option. Okay, so on the list are all kinds of books, including nonfiction, one of which is called Frightlopedia, an encyclopedia of everything scary, creepy, and spine-chilling from arachnids, remember those are spiders, to zombies. And the author's last name is Winterbottom. So this one is pretty much a list of all kinds of scary things. Examples include the Capuchin Catacombs. So this is in Palermo, Italy, where you will find nearly 2,000 mummies patiently awaiting your gaze. They line the narrow stone halls propped against the walls like people waiting eternally for a bus. They look like that. And you will also learn about Lake Natron, which is in Tanzania, in Africa. Imagine coming upon a shimmering lake after walking for hours through dry, crackland on a boiling hot day. You wade into the water hoping to cool off, but almost immediately your body seems to turn to stone. You cannot move or breathe. You have been petrified. Literally, your body dried out and hardened, and you are doomed to remain as a lifelike statue on the shores of the lake for eternity. And this actually has happened to the animals that have waded into the lake. So lots of really scary things to learn about in that book. Okay, last nonfiction example is called This Book Stinks, Gross Garbage, Rotten Rubbish, and the Science of Trash. And that is what this book is all about, how much trash we produce and how we might begin to cut down on that amount of trash. So one of the pages in here shows you how much trash is produced by several countries around the world. And if you notice, we here in the US produce the most. A close second is China, and all these other countries, the United Kingdom, Russia, India, Germany, Japan, France, Brazil, way less than we do. China almost as much as we do, but if you remember, the population of China compared to the population of the US is so much bigger. So in fact, we should be producing much less trash than they do. So that is an example. You'll also find in here interesting ways people have found to use trash so as to recycle. So for example, here you have clothing made out of recycled materials. Here you have restaurant menus and plastic bags making the dress. And this is one that's all made out of CDs. And you're also going to have pages about how you yourself can reduce, reuse, recycle. So this page, for example, is upcycle your stuff, and it gives you all kinds of craft activities that you could do with your trash. All right, moving on to fiction. This book is called The Last Gargoyle. The author's last name is Durham. So a gargoyle, as you might or might not remember, is one of those statues that you find sometimes on the corners or edges of building, and often they look like creatures or monsters, and sometimes they are made so that the rain will come out of their mouth and form a little waterfall type effect. So this is about a particular gargoyle whose name is Penhallow, and he is the last of his kind here in Boston. It is his job to protect the denizens, that means the people who live in his building, which is an apartment building. He does have the ability to leave his stone form and take on a different form in order to walk around the city of Boston, and he often takes on the form of a boy. And he is the last because there is an ancient evil that has just killed the other two gargoyles who are still living in Boston, and now is just down to Penhallow to protect his people and his building, not to mention the rest of the city, from the ancient evil and destruction. Alright, this book is called The Last Panther. The author's last name is Mitchell. This one is science fiction. It takes place at an uncertain point in the future when we haven't done all that well in taking care of the planet and all the species that live here. A lot of them have gone extinct. So this is about Curie, who lives with her conservation dad on the outskirts of a village. So the village the lives of the people who live there are somewhat more primitive. They don't have as much technology, and they still hunt a lot in order to support themselves. Her dad clearly has come from one of the cities, capital C, where the villagers are not allowed. But he had married Curie's mom, who was a villager, and as a result, Curie doesn't really belong in either society. Not with the highly technologically advanced city people, or really with the villagers who only sort of tolerate her. And then life gets really unclear for Curie when she comes across a panther who is believed to be extinct. And she feels a serious bond with it and feels like she's communicating with the panther. Her dad wants to capture the panther to bring it back to live in a zoo in the city, and the villagers want to capture the panther in order to kill it, to allow them to survive both by eating the meat and by being able to sell some of the parts. So Curie has to figure out what she is going to do.
Hi, I'm Jean from the Newton Free Library, and I'm here to chat with you about some great books for going into 5th grade. And I want to start with 2 graphic novels. The first one is Gods and Thunder, a graphic novel of Old Norse myths. And it's exactly what it says. What I really, really love about this book is that all the way in the back, it has an awesome glossary. So it has pictures of all of the characters, and it describes how they fit into the whole world of Norse mythology, and that's really helpful because I didn't know a lot about it. And then I'll just show you some of the illustrations. This is Thor versus the giants, and it has all the different characters that you're going to see in this particular chapter. And then and there's also the death of Baldur. So if you're really into Norse mythology, you'd really like Gods and Thunder. And then totally switching it up, Time Shifters is a wacky graphic novel about time traveling. And what happens is Luke, one day in his backyard, hears this huge boom, and he looks out in his backyard and he sees this sort of wacky bracelet gadget. And it turns out that there's some evil creatures that are after this bracelet gadget, and so he runs away from them. He's not quite sure what this gadget does. And then he accidentally hits the bracelet, and kaboom, he encounters all of these creatures. And these are the characters that time travel with Luke. So we have a girl who is a ghost. We have a wacky scientist. We have Abraham Lincoln. Really wacky, fun characters. And if you really like time traveling, you'll like Time Shifters. This is a really terrific poetry book. It's called I'm Just No Good at Rhyming and Other Nonsense for Mischievous Kids and Immature Grown-Ups. And I'll read you one of the poems from this. Let's do Chocolate for Breakfast. Chocolate for breakfast, tasty and sweet. Chocolate for breakfast, oh, what a treat. But if it's for breakfast, then truly and surely It's not choco late, it's choco early. If you like the Dorp Diaries, you'll really like reading The Real McCoys. This is about a girl named Moxie who's 10 and in the 4th grade, and she's lost her best friend because she's moved away, and her best friend is her great sidekick in solving mysteries. Now, someone at the school has stolen the school mascot, and Moxie needs to solve the case. But now she has to fly solo because her friend left. But maybe, just maybe, her younger brother Milton, who's in 1st grade, can help. It's a very funny book. It's chock full of great illustrations, and it's a great mystery. And I'll show you some of the pictures. This is what Moxie thinks of her younger brother. And then she has a funny bit in here about rumors of what might happen to you when you're sent to the principal's office. So here's the first rumor. Being hung upside down by your ankles and tickled with a feather until you give up all your darkest secrets. And then another rumor is being dropped through a trap door into a pool of murky water filled with feisty, toothless eels that gnaw endlessly on your toes. A really fun book, The Real McCoys. This is the song from Somewhere Else, and it's a really unusual fantasy. It's about Francesca, or as she likes to be called, Frank, is tormented by 3 bullies at a playground. She gets rescued by a very tall, odd boy in her class named Nick. They run to Nick's house where Frank hears some really beautiful, eerie music. It turns out that this amazing music is created by a creature from another world, Nick's mother. And this is what Nick's mother looks like. Who is Nick really? And who is his mother? And can both of them stay in this world? To find out, you'll have to read the song from Somewhere